Good afternoon, everybody, or good day, everybody. Thank you for joining us on another virtual info session. I'm Brian from the American Center, the programming coordinator there, and hopefully someday soon I'll get to see you live and in person in the American Center. But for now, we're going to continue doing these virtual sessions. As always, please follow us on our Facebook page. If you don't already, it's the U.S. Consulate in Ho Chi Minh City on Facebook. And we look forward to bringing you more of these programs. Today we are with Gordon Berridge and Mei Li Jin and Han Dao from Bentley University in Waltham, Massachusetts, which is right outside of Boston. And they're going to talk to you about the hidden tips and secrets for applying to graduate school for analytics and data science. I don't know what I just said, so I'm going to let them talk about it. And Gordon, I'm turning it over to you now.
Oh, wonderful, Brian. Thank you so much. Thank you to everybody there. We are so excited to be joining you today. As Brian mentioned, my name is Gordon Berridge. I'm the Associate Director of Graduate Admissions here at Bentley University. And we first want to say thank you to Education USA and everyone there in Vietnam and in Ho Chi Minh for having us, for welcoming us today. We're so excited to share some information with you today as we go through our presentation. So as I mentioned, or as Brian mentioned, we have my colleague with us, Mei Li Jin, and our amazing alumni, Han, who is so kind to join us today to talk about her experience transitioning from, Vietnam, coming to the United States. What was that like for her experience at Bentley University. And then my colleague, Mei Li, near the end is going to talk a little bit about our university. But I'm going to dive right into what we're here about today, to talk a little bit about what it's like to apply to specifically analytics programs and STEM degree programs here in the United States. So a lot of these types of programs you're going to see at a lot of different types of schools. Bentley, we're a business school, so I'm going to talk a little bit about that as we go through, but we're going to talk about some things that you can do prior to the application to get yourself ready. We're going to talk about the profile of a typical student that's interested in this area, tips for a really strong STEM application, and then again, my colleague Mei Li is going to talk about our university and then how to get in touch with us if you have any questions. So we'll dive right into this right here. So choosing a school in the United States, there's a couple of things I want you to look for. The very first thing is accreditation. So in the United States, there's a lot of different types and styles of accreditation. The one you want to look for is regional accreditation. Regional accreditation, there are 6 different regions here in the United States. Bentley, where we're located just outside of Boston, in the Northeast or in the New England region, we are accredited by an agency called NEASC, the New England Association of Schools and Colleges. And so when you're looking at a university or college here in the United States, you want to make sure that you're looking at a regionally accredited university. So that's the first and foremost that you want to look at, and that is approved by the federal government here in the United States. The next thing you want to take a look at is programmatic specific accreditation. So basically what that means is if there's a specific area that you're interested in, you want to make sure that it is accredited, maybe by a specific programmatic specific accreditation. So for example, there's what's called AACSB, EQUIS, and AMBA. These are specific to business schools. So if you're interested in a business STEM or a business analytics type degree, these are the types of accreditations that you want to look for programmatic specific. And again, this just really helps understand that the university meets certain strict standards to make sure the education that they're delivering to you meets those high quality standards. So those are the first 2 things you want to look at. And then specific master's programs, specialties, you can look at other programmatic things for that as well. If for particular in engineering, they have some in mathematics, they have some as well. So again, you just want to make sure you're looking at all the accreditations within a university as you're going through. But again, emphasizing that regional accreditation is the most important thing. And again, your Education USA centers, they can be a great resource for this, and they can actually help you find these different accreditation bodies. So before the application, do your research on STEM programs. Make sure you reach out to different universities. You want to make sure that you're looking at a lot of different universities. Start first and foremost. The United States is a very large location. Some people don't realize that it can take 7-8 hours to fly from one end to the other. So it's a big place. So when you're starting to look at universities, maybe start regionally. That might be a good way, because especially if you're going to be working in that region, you want to make sure, or you want to work in that region, you want to look at universities in that area. Once you narrow down your maybe top universities, you want to contact the admissions office. This is so incredibly important. You're going to hear me refer to this so often through this presentation, how important that contact with the admissions office and developing that relationship is going to be to the success of your application. So once you've spoken to admissions office, then you want to make sure you can ask to see if you can speak with professors, alumni, like Han, who's here with us today. You want to also look to see if they can talk to you about their experiences at the university. If you're talking to professors, they can talk to you about their education methodologies, how they deliver the education. You also want to make sure that they can talk to you a little bit about, if someone has their microphone open, if they could just keep it closed. I'm getting a little bit of feedback. Thank you. But if you talk to your professor, make sure that you can ask them about their methodology, their teaching methods, whether it's hands-on, lecture style, the type of topics that they're teaching, things like that. Try to attend events like this. Obviously, all events right now are online. Someday they're going to release this back out into the wild again, and so you want to make sure that you can maybe try to attend them in person if possible. But right now, look for all of those online opportunities to get to know the university and connect with them that way as you're going through this process. So some typical student profile. A typical student profile for somebody who's interested in analytics or data science, they typically have a strong interest in analytics. This can be math, engineering, some science areas. A background in statistics can be very helpful when you're looking particularly at data science and the analytics fields, as this is going to be a big piece of what you're going to do. When you're applying to a university, particularly in math and analytics and data science, you want to look, for us, we want to look and see that an ideal candidate is probably going to have a degree in math, sciences, business, or engineering. These are typically the type of degrees that we look at when coming into the analytics and data science program at the master's degree level. It's not to say if you don't have this background, you can't do it, but this is helpful. Also, they're highly motivated students, like I said, are welcome from all different areas, but what way you can really distinguish yourself is looking at other ways, and I'll talk about some of those ways as we go through the application process. Typical student profile, average GMAT score, and I'll dive into that in a little bit more in a little bit, 650 to 680. GPA range on a 4.0 scale, which it is here in the US, is typically 3.3 to 3.8. So you're looking at typically what we would call a B+ to an A average. Now, the average years of experience is 3 years. Coming into, at least for our university it is, and I know for a lot of my colleagues at other universities it's about the same as well. But do note, and again, this is where that relationship and talking to that admissions office is going to be so important, that that's not always the most important thing. So some universities, they say that that's the average, but you don't necessarily need experience to come into these programs, but it can be helpful. So, but if you don't have any, don't worry, reach out to those admissions office and they can probably be able to waive that experience for you. Typical career outcomes in this particular industry, you'll see a lot of them here on the left-hand side, things like consulting, financial services, technology, manufacturing, pharma, biotech, and healthcare. That's a really big one here in the Massachusetts area, just outside of Boston. Probably the three biggest ones here in this area are technology, consulting, financial services, and then the pharma biotech. And for a lot of different job titles, you're going to see things like data scientist, marketing analyst, senior analyst, data engineer, IT systems administrator. A lot of consultants come out of the analytics areas as well, particularly in the STEM fields as we go through this area. And then some big data resources. You should have access to detailed research on hundreds of thousands of business and individuals, as well as financial and market data. These are some pretty specific resources that you can use as you're going through your programs. So you want to make sure as you're reaching out, particularly if you're interested in the analytics field, these are the types of focuses that you want to take a look at. These are the types of programs, that you want to look at as you're going through these different types of areas. So make sure that as you're looking at different careers, as you're looking at different universities, that you either have this type of skill or your university is going to give you experience in these different types of programmatic areas. So the application process. This is a pretty typical application process for a university. Application fees, written essays, your resume or CV, letters of recommendation, your transcripts, a typical interview, official GMAT or GRE score, and then TOEFL or IELTS exams as well. So some tips to help you get started. So the essay tips for this, for when you're applying to a university in the United States within the STEM world, and again, STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, you want to make sure that you're reading those questions carefully on the application, and you want to make sure that you're answering the questions. Now, we do understand that you might be applying to multiple universities, you might be applying to a lot of different ones, but you still want to make sure that you're looking at that particular question and answering the question very carefully. You want to make sure that you're aware of any minimums or maximums. A lot of applications are online, and so you might be cutting and pasting or uploading your documents. If there's a maximum and you're submitting a documentation, you may get some of your application cut off. So you want to make sure that you're aware of those maximums, because you want to make sure that if you spend so much time on this application that you're really making sure that you are addressing all of the issues that they're looking for as they're going through this particular program. Also proper spelling and grammar as you're going through this process. You want to make sure that you are addressing you're going through and making sure that all of your spellings are correct, all of your punctuation is correct. And here's something that's really important. You want to review that essay as many times as possible. But after you feel comfortable with it, here's what I want you to do. And this is a really great tip I've given to a lot of applicants that's been really helpful. Take your essay. I want you to give it to someone who can review your essay for you. But what I want you to do is not give them the question. Just give them the essay, have them read it, and then once they're done reading, I want you to ask them, what question am I trying to answer? And if they can give you the question that you're trying to answer, then you know you've done a good job writing that essay. If they cannot give you the direct question that you're trying to answer, or it seems very generic and general, then you know what, maybe you need to go back and re-review that a little bit. Maybe you need to go back and rewrite that a little bit and make sure that you are focusing in on those particular details, or making sure that you're going back and adding additional things, because those details are important. Those details can really help explain who you are, or why you're interested in a particular program, or why you're interested in a particular university or region of the United States. So make sure that you go through and you identify those details as part of the process. And again, make sure you have someone else review that application. So when it comes to the resume, now here in the United States, most universities, colleges, businesses, especially for internships as well, they're looking for resumes. Some of them will accept a CV. CVs, they can be pretty typical around the world. However, here in the United States, we do resumes quite a bit. So this is, again, where that relationship with the admissions department can be really helpful, because you can ask them if they accept a CV or a resume. And so that way you can really make sure that you are submitting the right type of document. Again, when it comes to this, same thing, make sure the proper spelling and grammar. Be careful, don't over-exaggerate your position or skills. Really make sure that those details are important. Now, abbreviations, as much as Mei Li and I try to keep up on all of the new industry terms and processes and things that are happening in all the different types of industries that we get applications from, we can't unfortunately be up on all abbreviations. So if there's a particular abbreviation that you're using within your within your resume or CV, at least once when you first reference it in your resume or CV, spell it out for us. Let us know what that is so that it can really help us as you're going through. If it's a pretty typical, abbreviation like HR for human resources, that's pretty universal. However, if it's more very specific to your industry or to your program or something like that, at least once spell it out for us. That can help us out quite a bit. Also, if there are particular terms within your industry or within your program that may not be very typical, same thing, define that at least once within the resume or CV. That also can be really helpful for us in the application review process. That can also save time so we can really focus in on what you're doing. But also we want to make sure that we understand what you're doing and we give you all of the credit that you deserve for all the hard work that you've done. So define those industry terms at least once within your resume or CV. That can be really helpful. Now, when it comes to the STEM part, again, and if you're not familiar, STEM, once again, science, technology, engineering, and math. Those are going to be the four areas that we're looking at for a STEM degree. So you want to make sure that you list all of your recent quantitative courses that you've taken at your college or university, or anywhere else for that matter, even outside if you've done a certificate or done some stuff at your work. Highlight any quantitative experiences that you've had. So if you've done an internship that had some quantitative pieces to it, the courses that you've taken, maybe you've done a project or participated in a competition, something even outside of those that can be really helpful as well. And then also focus on any additional analytic skills that you've done. Perhaps you've taken a certificate course. Perhaps you've taken an online course, which I know a lot of students are doing right now. If your university is closed or this summer, if you're, I know unfortunately, a lot of students who are planning on doing internships or doing some work over the summer. A lot of those have been canceled due to the current COVID-19 situation. If that's the case in your internship or your experience that you're looking to have over the next few months after school ends stopped, you know what? Look to take an online free course in a particular quantitative field. That can be really helpful. There's a lot of different great online resources that you can utilize to help you, brush up on some quantitative skills or get you ready to go into that program. And you want to list measurable achievements. So make sure you list those measurable achievements, that could be something along the lines of, again, if you've done a competition and you were judged on that, particularly in the STEM field, if you're participating in something like that, that can be really helpful as well as you're going through. And again, you can list all of those things on your resume. Letters of recommendation. When it comes to letters of recommendation, again, this is where it can be really helpful to have that relationship with that admissions department and reaching out to them to talk to them about maybe how they want to receive their letters of recommendation. A lot of universities will receive them in several different ways. So, for example, a letter of recommendation might come through either, sending it by mail, by email, or by form as they're going through. And I'm seeing a lot of questions pop up. Hopefully we're able, I think my colleague is on there, hopefully answering some questions as we go through. I will be stopping near the end here, near the end, so we can be able to go through all of those. So if you have questions and I'm not getting to them just yet, don't worry, I will be getting to them. Myself and my colleague will be getting to them near the end to make sure that we address all of those questions that you have as we're going through. So if you're posting questions and you're wondering why I'm not getting to them right now, don't worry, I will be getting to them in just a few minutes. So going back to letters of recommendation, so making sure they understand how they want to receive them. So right now, with a lot of what's going on, a lot of universities are accepting them electronically. And so I know for us at our university, at Bentley particularly, we send an email out to your recommender, and there's a link. They click on the link, they're able to take that and fill out the recommendation form for you. So talk to that university. And also when you're looking to choose a recommender, make sure you ask the recommender and make sure you ask a recommender who's going to speak positively about you. So somebody who can speak to your abilities as you're going through this particular program. Make sure they can speak to your quantitative abilities as they're going through this. Make sure they can speak to your analytical skills. So maybe a particular professor who's interested in this, who can speak to you that you've had in that field, or maybe a manager, a boss, an internship coordinator, something like that, that can speak to your analytical and quantitative skills in a good way. Obviously, make sure they can speak in English if you're applying to an American school. You also want to make sure that, so whoever you're getting, you want to make sure you get it directly from them, that they can read and write in English. And then here's the other thing. Ask your recommender before using them. You don't want to surprise them that they're getting a recommendation. Let them know, that they're going to get an email, that they're going to get a letter, that they're going to get some contact from the university to submit that recommendation for that. And give them time. Give them a little bit of time to write a thoughtful letter on your behalf. You want to make sure, again, that that's going to be the best possible recommendation that you can get. So you want to make sure that as you're going through this process, that you're giving them enough time. Typically, 1 to 2 weeks is a pretty good time frame to give them an opportunity to write that recommendation letter. So transcripts. When it comes to your transcripts, you want to make sure that any transcripts that are not in English are officially translated. So I know that I've worked with a lot of universities in Vietnam in the past. A lot of them do offer transcripts in English now, but for whatever reason, if your university or college does not, please make sure that you're getting those translated into English so that we can be able to go through them. That can be really helpful. If your university doesn't do it, there's a lot of great organizations out there. One that we use is called wes.org. If not, you can also reach out to your Education USA centers. They can also maybe be helpful in giving you some tips or some recommendations of where to get those translated into English. But also a lot of them will also translate them from whatever standard your college or university might use into the standard 4.0 system that's pretty typical here in the United States. And so that those organizations can do that too. So again, utilize your connection with Education USA, utilize your relationship with the admissions office, the particular universities that you're interested in, because they can give you some suggestions on how to get those translated. Also, you must be able to provide at some point during the application process or after you're accepted, original copies from that university. And so you want to make sure that you're able to provide those. You also want to make sure if you attended more than one college or university, you want to make sure you submit all college transcripts from all universities that you attended. And these transcripts should include the courses you took and the grades that you received. Same thing, give yourself enough time. You don't want to be rushing through this process. So make sure you give enough time to get your transcripts, to collect them from the universities. I know a lot of universities around the world are closed or working remotely. And so you want to make sure you're giving everybody enough time, because it may take a little bit longer given the current situation that we're in, to get you any type of transcripts that you might need. Also, talk to your university that you're interested in, ask that admissions department. Maybe they'll accept unofficial transcripts. I know we do, and it makes it a little bit easier where you maybe can download them from the university website and get those unofficial transcripts. Again, where it just lists your grades and courses on there from the university. And that can make life a little bit easier for you as you're going through that process. So find out if they'll accept unofficial transcripts, but just realize that at some point during that process, the university is going to want official ones. Provide a grading key. If you're unable to translate that from your educational standards of whatever it might be, 10, 20 points, into the standing point of 4.0, provide a grading key so that we can see that as we're going through that process. That can be really helpful as well as we're going through that. The interview. The interview is actually one of my favorite parts of the application process. This is where we, as an admissions office, really get an opportunity to get to know you and who you are. So I know this can be really stressful for a lot of applicants, but I can tell you from an admissions perspective, this is one of our favorite parts always. When it comes to an interview, proper attire is always best. So you want to make sure that you're treating this like you would an interview for a job, if you will. And so you want to make sure that you dress appropriately as you're going through this process. I will say right now, all universities that I know of are doing their interviews virtually like this, whether that's Zoom, FaceTime, Skype, something like that, but they're doing video interviews for that process. So have questions ready to ask. is really important as well. And so you want to make sure that you have maybe 3 to 4 questions available that's ready to ask. And I'm going to tell you why this is important. Because from an admissions perspective, I want to see that you've done a little research. So maybe ask a question about a professor that you're interested in, a particular subject or course that you're interested in, something about the university specifically that shows me, as someone who's interviewing you, that you've done your research, that you've looked into this university, that you spent some time on our website, talking to our alumni, talking to professors, reaching out to us. This can really be some positive points for you in the interview process. Obviously, show up on time, not too early, not too late. If you're applying for 2021 and you're applying in person, you can do that process as well. You want to make sure that if we do eventually start doing face-to-face interviews, that you don't show up too early. And then whether it's video or whether it's in person, really try not to be late. For this particular, for these interviews, I usually tell students, usually about 5 to 10 minutes is a pretty good rule if you're meeting in person or online to be ready for that process. If it's a video interview, make sure you're in a quiet place. Make sure you're in some place where you won't be disturbed, but also you want to make sure that you're in a place that has really good connectivity to the internet if possible. If for whatever reason you might not have good connectivity at your home, maybe use an office, a school, like your university. If, also you can use, once we're allowed to start going out in person again, you might be also able to use the Education USA centers. I know in Education USA centers I've traveled to around the world, they do allow students to come in and do interviews there, but reach out to them, find out if they have a space to maybe do that, to where it's a little bit better connectivity once we're allowed to go back out into the process. So also make sure that if you're using it on your phone, try not to hold it. Try to put it in a stable place where we can do this interview so that you're not kind of shaking around. That can be really distracting. And we want to make sure that we're focusing on you. So put it in a nice stable place if you're using your phone or a tablet or something like that, so we can see you nicely. It's okay to take notes. Take some notes as you're going through this process. I want to see that you're taking notes, that you're writing stuff down. That can be really helpful for this process. If you're unsure, ask the interviewer, hey, is it okay if I take some notes during our interview process? Most students, I think most interviewers would be totally fine with that. And then here is my professional tip for you. Please make sure you follow up with a thank you email. And a good rule is within 24 hours. So during that interview process, and maybe this is one of your questions, ask them for their email address. You may have your email address, may have your contact information if you don't have it already, and then make sure to follow up with an email saying thank you. It doesn't have to be very long. Dear Gordon, thank you so much for meeting with me. I really appreciated it. I really enjoyed learning about your university, this particular program, whatever it was. I look forward to hearing about your decision. It can be that simple, but that again can be one of those little things that helps your application stand out, a little bit more than all of the hundreds or maybe thousands of other applications that Maylee and I are reading through. And so make sure that as you're doing that, follow up with that thank you email. That can be really, really important. And again, help you stand out during that interview process. The GMAT or GRE score, for the GMAT or GRE score, give yourself enough time to study. Now, also use online resources. I will say that GMAT and GRE, both of these are being offered and are available online right now. So if you do not take a GMAT or GRE and your university requires it, don't worry. Right now, the GMAT and GRE are both being offered online. And so you can take these online from your home. And so reach out now to either the GMAT or the GRE Center or whatever app or whatever way that your university wants them to submit the testing. Some universities are waiving these tests for different reasons. I know we have certain criteria that we will waive for these particular tests. Now, when it comes to any type of test, you want to make sure, again, you reach out to your local university, find out their admissions office is, and talk to them about what type of test they're looking for. Sometimes they might have their own test, sometimes not. And so you want to find out what type of test and if there's potential waivers for that. If you do need to study for these, use online resources. Also, another great resource for taking these types of exams is, again, your Education USA office, a great way to go in and get reading material. Talk to them about potential opportunities for makeup pre-tests and things like that. So talk to them. They can be a great resource, or maybe they can even point you to different resources to taking an entrance exam for your particular application. Also, it's okay to take it again if necessary. If you take it once and you don't do as well as you were hoping, it's fine to take it again. I know all of my colleagues at all the different universities that I've worked with and have talked to, they're fine with receiving more than one score if you have to take it again. That's fine. Ask what type of school the test prefers, and also know which type of test works best for you. If a university offers multiple entrance exams, do some research, find out which one works best for you and your learning style. Find out when those testing dates are. So you want to make sure you give yourself plenty of time to find out when those testing dates are, so you have enough time to take it, and again, prepare to study for this exam. And now when it comes to this, you should go without saying, you want to obviously aim for the highest score possible overall. But here is my pro tip. When it comes to these exams, if you're applying for a STEM degree program, what you really want to focus on are those quantitative sections and skills. Those quantitative sections and skills can really help your overall score. I know for some of these exams, particularly I know the GRE, they tend to weigh those quantitative skills a little bit more for that quantitative section than they might the verbal. So, if you find yourself that, you're coming up to the line, you're about to take the test, really focus in on those quantitative skills, those math skills, those analytical skills. Those are going to be the ones that can really help boost your score, those couple additional points through any test that you're looking to take. Now, again, especially if we are looking at a STEM degree program, you want to make sure, again, that you're focusing on those quantitative skills and sections of that GMAT or GRE as you're going through. English assessment. The English assessment here, you want to make sure you find a native speaker to practice with if you can. If not, look for online resources. Again, you can reach out to your Education USA Center. They too might have some online resources for you. But if not, you can go to YouTube, watch professional interviews, TED Talks, things like that. Those can be really helpful. Also read professional journals like the Wall Street Journal, Financial Times, trade journals. Practice. Even if you have to sit in a room by yourself and just practice talking in English, that can be really helpful. Same thing, know the dates of testing. And when it comes to English as a second language tests, to get you prepared, know which test the university accepts. The two most common tests here in the United States are the TOEFL and the IELTS exam. Those are the two most popular ones. And then you also want to reach out to that university and find out what their minimum scores are. What type of minimum scores do they accept? Because that can be really helpful as well as you're going through that process. So those are some professional tips there that hopefully you found some things in there that can be really useful. But what I want to do now is I want to turn it over to our alumni, Han. She's amazing. She's what we refer to as a double falcon. She received 2 degrees from us. She received her MBA from Bentley University, and she also received her Master of Science in Finance from us as well with a quantitative track. So she can talk a little bit about her quantitative experience. So I'm going to turn it over to Han right now for about 10 minutes or so, 5-10 minutes to talk about her experience coming to Bentley University. Han?
Thank you, Gordon. Good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to talk to you today. So I have been in the United States for a very long time, since my undergraduate year back in 2009. So I went to, went to SUNY Plattsburgh. It's located in a very remote place, and let me tell you, it's super, super cold. And I wish somebody would told me that we're extremely cold, like a North Pole up there. And then, so I know that university back in because some of my relatives study there back in I think it's about 1974, and then he recommended me to that university. And then when I came there, everybody was a stranger, but then I have a couple of alumni helping me out, showing me the way. So, and then I have some relative live close by in Albany, New York. So it is a big helpful for me to make a transition from Ho Chi Minh City going to upstate New York. And so it's one of my recommendation for you is to reach out for the for many alumni in the university that you're planning to apply to, especially Vietnamese associations students, so they can show you around what they can show you very local helpful tips to relocate, to make a transition more smoothly. And so after I graduated from Plattsburgh, and then I decided to go back home to work for a couple of years because, let me emphasize again, it's super cold up there. And it's quite remotely far away from New York City and Boston, from any big city. So I was kind of I was born and raised in Ho Chi Minh City for whole my life. And I prefer to be in a very urban situation. So I moved back home to work in marketing industry. I studied finance back in the day, and then I moved back home to work in educational first, and then back in marketing industry, marketing agency. And then in 2015, I decided to follow, to go to shoot for an MBA program. And then I was researching. I know that I would come into Boston if I'm going to do my graduate degree, because I fall in love with the city seeing the undergrad year. And I said, I'm going to be back in Boston soon. And then I did a lot of research. I was applying around BU, Boston University, Babson, Boston College, and then Bentley. I know we all start with B. That's why we call it Beantown for a reason. And then I went through a lot of application process, and I have my interview with Gordon, and I have a second interview with our head of the program, David Schwarzkopf. And finally, Bentley offered me a full scholarship to go to the MBA program here at Waltham. So I was just like, it's a mind blowing to me, and it's like, and I forget totally application with Babson and then Boston College, and I don't need to apply with them anymore, and I just go to Bentley. And it was a wonderful years study at the MBA program. I met a lot of friends. I made some good friends that I have to say that they are my second family right now. And so I graduated from the MBA program, and then by the time that Bentley offered a new course in Master of Finance in the quantitative track, which is more emphasized in more statistic and in more calculus. It's a bit different from traditional financial track, because it's focused more on how to use such as Python and other quantitative machine learning to emphasize on your currently finance, because all of the big firm right now, they are moving to quantitative trading right now. So they want to do high frequency trading. They want to do a lot with machine learning at the moment. So that is a big trend that Bentley is catching up with the industry at the moment. So after graduate from the Bentley MBA, so I was offering another scholarship to join the Master of Quantitative Finance. And this was, once again, I wouldn't expect Bentley would be that generous to me. And and then they accepted me for the new program. And then I just like, okay, I'm going to stay for another 2 years having this program, studying this program. And then I met a lot of people in another quantitative track, especially Master in Business Analytics is a big field in the United States right now. I think that many of you have heard about the big data things. And then, so the last statistic that I heard from recruiter, they saying that there are thousands of business analytic position field position as offering solely in Boston at the moment. So so STEM, especially in BA marketing analytics, is also a big field at the moment. So I think that it is very helpful for you to especially looking at that quantitative track, or you can do it finance like me, because I'm always a finance person and I prefer it that way. And but then at the moment, BA, business analytics and marketing analytics, is a big industry trend at the moment. And then after graduation, you can get offer from I know my friend get offer from EY, Deloitte, and many and many more quantitative companies like Dell, MATLAB, a lot of it more. And so yeah, so this is a very worthy track that you should look into, and potentially, and they pay in it very well. If you make it to data science, if you go deep into data scientist, that I heard my professors and they say that you can make like $200,000 per year minimum. So, and then you can stay long afterward. You can stay for up to 3 years after graduation, because with a STEM degree, you can get offer with an OPT for STEM OPT for 3 years. So as an international student like us, it's something that worth looking into. And I want to move back to Gordon right now, and I don't want to take too much of his time. But I'm happy to take any more questions by the end of this session if you have any. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was wonderful. I really appreciate it. That was wonderful. Thank you. Hopefully she was able to give you some really good information. And then again, we are going to be going through our questions here in just a moment. But as I'm going through the questions now, and thank you so much for these questions. They're wonderful. I'm just going through them now, getting all of my answers prepared. But while I finish going through these questions and getting your answers ready, I just want to turn it over to my colleague, Mei Lee. And Mei Lee is going to tell you a little bit about who we are through this process, who Bentley is, just give you a little bit of information, and then we're going to go through and answer all of your questions. So I'm going to turn it over to Mei Lee right now.
Thank you, Gordon. Hi, everyone. My name is Mei Lee. I'm from Graduate Admissions Office at Bentley University. I'm one of the admissions officers here, same as Gordon. So our school located in Waltham is really close to Boston, which is only 19 kilometers away. By driving, it's only like about 20 minutes without any traffic. So the school is built in city of Boston first. It started in 1917 and then moved to Waltham in 1968. Due to heavy enrollments after a couple of years, so that's why I moved to Waltham. It's really close, and if you want to see the city of Boston, it's really close. It's really convenient for you to visit from Waltham to Boston by bus or by train or by if there's taxi you can call, and it's really convenient for you to visit Boston. It's really easy. So next page I will talk about some data about our graduate school. So currently we have about 1,300 students on the campus for the graduate school. So therefore, around 46% of international students, and then they represented from 58 different countries. And then for domestic students, they're from 29 different states, all of the countries. So if you are really looking forward to see for diversity students population, our campus is the way, is the one for you if you want to see different friends from all different countries, and then or you want to meet with friends from different states so that you can experience the different culture all over the world. So here is our offerings for the graduate school. We have 8 different master's programs, and also along with MBA. Most of our programs, they are STEM eligible. As Han mentioned earlier, for the STEM eligible programs, there are 3 years OPT after graduation, which means you can stay here longer time to get your US working experience. So for the STEM eligible, programs, we do have business analytics, as Han mentioned earlier, which is really big regarding like the big data. We also have marketing analytics. If you really want to looking for like working for marketing and then learn how to do like how to analyze data in the marketing field, then this is the program for you. We also have the digital innovation, accounting analytics, and also finance analytics. So if you, it's really depending on you, like what specific area you want to focus on. If you really want to do like business analytics, then it's the right program for you. If you want to do marketing, it could be a right program for you. If you like accounting field or financial field, then choose one of those. Our admissions officers over here, we're really happy to talk to you like one-on-one. If you have any questions, we can sit down with you and through Zoom or through Skype or through phone call to have consultation call with you to guide you on one-on-one. We also have MBA program over here. So we also can pair MBA program with one of the master's program, same as Han did. So we call it dual degree. It's really depending on your need. If you want to be a manager in the future, and also you want to focus on one specific area to focus on, like to gain the experience for the master's program, so that you can pair down like the program with MBA along with one of the master's program over here. For the MBA program, we have some different concentrations as well. You can choose. If, for example, if you want to do MBA, but you don't want to do master's program, that's fine. And we do have marketing as the concentration. We also have accounting, finance. We also have business analytics. So we have different like concentrations for you to focus on. It's really depending on your needs. So you could select MBA and then go through one of the concentrations. And so next page, we will talk about the career outcomes. This is really my favorite part. I always like to talk and share with the students. So for our career service department at our school, for the internship program is ranked #1, and then for the job replacement is ranked #3 by the Princess Review in 2019. So that department, they do really do their best to help students. For example, like if you want to search for an internship program or even for the offer, like job offer after graduation, they do help to like host tons of different events all over the year on the campus. We do have 2 big career fairs on the campus. One is in spring, the other one is fall. We have a lot of employers, they come to our campus and then do talk with students in person. For the first one, I always tell like our students, you don't need to push yourself to find a job offer. For the first event, you can just try out to see like what skills employers they're looking for, and then so that you can better prepare yourself to find even like for the internship opportunity or job offer after graduation. For the global replacement, which is for international students, is 90% within 3 months after graduation, within 3 months of graduation. So it's really high. So I want to say, like I always tell my students, after you enroll to the program, talk to the career service department first, make an appointment so that you can work with our career service department, and then like update your resume, and then you will learn how to write best cover letter when you apply for jobs, or like even like learn different skills at the job interview. We do have partnerships with some companies with the local. For example, we do have partners with accounting firms like Deloitte, EY, and some other companies. And then we also have like over here is mentioned here, Biogen. So we do have like really good relationships with tons of different companies from the local. So they do come to our campus and meet students and talk to them in person. Like because now it's due to this is a special time of the year, so no one can go to campus and meet the employers. So we had the online, so students can meet with employers online and talk to them like on one-on-one. So for the next couple of years, which is in 2020, the industry, they are looking for the increase of 30% for the future growth for the data analytics side and for the big data. So if you're really working for or looking for those like big data field, it will be a big jump. So you will see a 30% of the increase of this area. So next page is one of another alumni we have, whose name is Amanda Derry, finished for the Master of Science in Business Analytics in 2016. She is the talent analytics and consultant in Dell. So she mentioned during the interview with us, she mentioned like the MSBA, which is the Business Analytics program, exposed her to a wide variety of analytics techniques. And then I found that every class was directed applicable to what I was looking at. So which means, so our programs would really like work on like for students who can apply their skills so that they can bring into the real work experience and then apply those skills when they work and then work for employees. And also like for the data, she also mentioned like the top skills gained from Bentley. So she mentioned the data manipulation, which is really important for her, like for the data needs to be in for each type of model, and then how to code the variable that she needs. So which means she learned lots of like for our programs, no matter like for MS Business Analytics or for other type of like analytics skills, like for those major related programs, we do have the skills help students to improve their data analyzing skills, which is like for the softwares we do offering like R, Tableau, like Python, and the SQL. So by like enrolling those like the programs, you will learn like how to use those software so that you can apply those skills after or during the job searching. So when you do internship program, you will apply those skills to your internship program, or after graduation, when you find a job offer, then you could apply those skills for your job. And also like deeper, she also mentioned the deep statistical modeling techniques. She also mentioned like she always referred the slides or the notes from the classes, which means she learned lots of things from her class and also did lots of group works together, so that like the professors, they do the cases from the real work experience, so that you are not learning from textbook only. So you can work for some companies and then do the data analyze skills. So apply those skills and then data case skills so that you can apply for your job later. And also for the storytelling, analyze data, of course, is really important, and also like how to present those skills, those information to your clients, those are also important. So Bentley is not only tell you about how to analyze data, we also tell you how to present those skills, those information in front of your clients. So next page, next page is for getting in touch. So if you want to talk with us in person, here's the way you could follow up with us. We have different social media. We have Facebook, we have Instagram, we have LinkedIn, we have WeChat. We also have, did I mention Facebook? Yeah, Facebook as well. So there are tons of ways you can follow with us. So just follow us at Bentley Grad so that you can find us and follow us. If you have any questions, you could visit our graduate page. And for that page, there are like tons of different events you could follow with us and then attend our future events. And then we can talk to you one-on-one if you would like to talk with us with one of the admissions officers. Feel free to connect with us. Here is our contact information. Gordon's email and also my email is on here, and also our general inbox, which is apply@grad@bench.edu. If you have any questions, you are more than welcome to call us as well. And the phone number is 781-891-2108. Even though we don't work on the campus, but we still can make calls. Yeah. Thank you so much for attending. We're happy to work with you. If you have any questions, please keep in touch.
Thank you, Maylee. Thank you. So we have a little bit of time left here. So I just want to go through some questions that you asked. We're going to start with the Facebook questions that were posted here. So the first question comes from, I think it's Anne, and wondering, having any limit of the age of this program? So we don't have any age limit for any of our particular programs. Some universities do have either a minimum or a maximum years of experience. So again, reaching out to that university's admissions office, that can be really helpful. I know for our particular programs, we do not have any age limits. We do have one program that does have a minimum years of experience you need to apply, but all of our programs, we have suggestions, but we do not have any specific, like, hey, no this, no more, no less than this or that, or anything else. So reach out to those admissions office, find out, but typically, I know for us, we don't have any minimum age or minimum years of experience except for my HFI, my user experience program. So next questions came from Tan Chung Nguyen. How to apply for electrical? Can you explain a little bit more? So for electrical, if you're meaning like to become an electrical worker or something like that, or if you mean for like an electrical engineer, so those particular programs, same thing, they're going to have a very particular application process, probably not too different from what we offer now at the master's degree level. And so what you want to do is you want to look at what their particular criteria is for that particular program. Again, they're going to want to see those quantitative skill sets. They're going to want to see, courses in mathematics, if you have any engineering courses. They're going to look at those high quantitative level areas. So if you're looking at electrical engineer, something like that, make sure again that you're fulfilling those quantitative needs with maths and sciences as you're going into that particular program. And again, reach out to that admissions office. Again, all admissions offices are very excited to talk with you, and they can give you some particular tips about their particular program. So another question from TN, is CV and resume the same? Is it an advantage if I ask for a high level position? Hold on a second here. If I ask for a high level position person to write the recommendation for me? Both great questions. So there is a little difference between a CV and a resume. A resume tends to be shorter. Resume is bullet points, gives very quick hits of points of detail. Typically a resume for somebody with, I would say, minimum years of experience is about a page. If you have more than 10 years of experience, sometimes those resumes can go to 2 pages. A CV is a lot more detailed. A typical CV, can be 5 to 6 pages. They're a lot more detailed. I've received CVs that are 10 to 15 pages long. So there is a slight difference, but either way, you just want to make sure that you're highlighting those specific details about you. I will say a resume is much more typical here in the United States than the CV is. So if you haven't done either and you were planning on applying to an American university, do a resume. I think that'd be a lot better. And again, reach out to your Education USA Center. They could probably give you some resources in helping you write a typical standard American resume that can be really helpful for there. Now, this is a great question regarding recommendations, and I'm really glad that you asked this question about asking a high-level position person. So only ask a high-level position person if you work directly with them. So when it comes to recommendations, it's more important for Maylee and I to get a chance to be able to hear from a recommender who can speak to your abilities, who can speak to your strengths about doing an advanced program like a master's degree. And so somebody who can speak to your quantitative abilities. And so if you, and I'll give you an example, one time I received a recommendation from somebody who got a recommendation from their CEO. Really great. I looked at it. this person obviously was many positions away from the CEO. They were about 5 to 6 positions away. And so the recommendation I received was very general. There was no details. It was I think when they said, would you recommend this person? The CEO said, well, I don't work directly with this person, but their manager seems to like them. That really didn't do much for us. It was great that it came from the CEO, but there was no substance there. There was no details. So we would prefer you get a recommendation from your direct manager, your supervisor. If you don't want your company to know that you are applying for graduate schools, maybe use a coworker or a consultant or somebody that you're working with. If you're a recent graduate, you can use a professor or somewhere like that. But again, only use a high-level person if you've worked with them directly. And again, they can speak about it in detail as part of the as part of your recommendation from that. Okay, the next question I see on here, what are the odds that a fall semester will be online at Bentley University? Great question. Right now, we are planning on having a traditional online or a traditional on-campus program. However, we are currently planning, Maylee and I just had a great meeting with the president of the university in which she spoke about all of the different ways that we are planning for whatever might happen, whether that's continuing social distancing where we have to be separated by 6 feet, where we have to continue to go online because we are online now, or whether we can open up as normal. So we have a plan for each phase depending on where we go. We won't know for sure. As I'm sure it is there in Vietnam, it's the same way here. It's kind of day to day. The information is constantly changing. So as we get deeper into our summer here, as we get into June and July, as we get closer, we'll probably start to look to make some decisions then. But as of right now, we are fully expecting to have a on-campus experience for our students. But please understand that could change as we get deeper into our summer here in the United States. Without any financial support, are there any other ways I am able to afford tuition and living expenses besides a full ride scholarship? So there are a lot of different opportunities to pay for your tuition. Not only do we offer scholarships, we also offer graduate assistantships, so where you work on campus for about 20 hours. We do have some other opportunities for international students through our financial aid department. However, I'm going to utilize Education USA. They too may have some opportunities that are specific for Vietnamese students. And coming to the US, sometimes they can give you some tips and some suggestions on opportunities for funding. But if not, reach out to us directly, depending on your current situation, depending on certain situations, things like that. We may be offer some opportunities. Reach out to either Maylee and I. We'd be happy to talk with you a little bit more about this as we go through this. As we go through this unprecedented time, we're happy to help you out with that as we go through. Just getting the questions here. Let's see here. Okay. Let me see here. Let me get other questions. All right. Does a degree? Okay, this is from excuse my pronunciation, Kumintu. Does a degree from online MBA program have the same value as a normal MBA program that requires you to be in class physically? This is a great question. And I think it more depends on what the university is. And so where that university is from. So for example, I know we offer an online MBA program. We also offer some online courses as well. So again, I'm going to refer back to the accreditations. Look at if it's an online university, look at the accreditation from the United States. Is it regionally accredited? Where are they getting that program from? And so if it's a regionally accredited university, if it's a university that maybe also has a physical imprint here in the United States, like a Bentley like a Harvard, an MIT, something like that, University of California. If you see, if they have a physical space, look and see what their accreditation is from. And it should be regional in accreditation, again, is what you're looking at. And so if it's an online program versus a domestic, I know that, if they have a physical location, I know when we give out our online MBA, it doesn't say online MBA on it, just says you received an MBA from Bentley University. And so there's no distinction between that as far as education goes. So don't worry about that. You can just go ahead and put that on your resume. But again, take a look at that. And if you have more specific questions, reach out to either Mei Lee or I, and we'd be happy to do that. So I'm going to actually turn this next question over to Mei Lee because it's related to STEM, and she handles with some of our STEM designated programs. So the question is, Mei Lee, what should we notice when looking for a job to make sure it is a STEM-related one?
Thank you, Gordon. Yeah, for this one, I would like to say before applying any programs, it's better communicate with an admissions officer at the university you want to apply and talk to them and ask them if the program is STEM eligible. If the STEM is eligible, which means after graduation, you will get 3 years OPT. The first I-20 you will receive will be 1 year. And then if you're eligible at the job, and then you will get another 2 years extension. In total, you will get 3 years. So back to my earlier sentence, it's better for you to talk with admissions officer to confirm that program is STEM eligible.
Absolutely, thank you, Mei Lee. And also too, if you're looking for a potential job out there, take a look at, and make sure that the program itself. So there's not going to be a job STEM, like no job is necessarily designated as a STEM job. What it is you want to make sure that whatever STEM degree you have relates to the job. So, for example, with Han, you want to make sure, or if somebody with a business analytics degree, for example, you want to make sure that whatever you learned in that program applies to that career. So you want to make sure, like an analyst, they're doing data mining, they're doing something that relates to that. So, and again, our career services department can help you with that. And also our Center for International Students and Scholars, which handles the OPT that Mei Lee mentioned that you can extend, and Han mentioned it as well. They can tell you what jobs may or may not meet their requirement to get that extension of OPT. So hopefully that answers your question. But again, I can't emphasize enough, feel free to reach out to Mei Lee and I. And if you have any particular questions for Han, send an email to me. I'll be happy to send it along to Han. I'm sure she'd be happy to talk with you and answer any questions. She's been one of our biggest supporters. She's been amazing. And so I can't thank Han enough for being here with us. To help us out and answer our questions. I also I want to thank Man Fan for being with us through this whole process. That's been wonderful and helping us out. And then just everybody at Education USA. It really has been great for having us. I hope that next time when we do this, we can do this in person where we can see each other. And I also want to thank Brian as well for helping us out. So I'll turn it back over to Brian to wrap this up.
Gordon and Mei Lee and Han, thank you very much for a fantastic talk. I almost want to go apply for an MBA. I think I'm a little older than your regular student profile, but that's all right. Anyway, thanks everybody for participating. And I know our Education USA team would be really happy to talk with you, as Gordon said several times. Thanks again to everybody for attending, and thank Gordon and Mei Lee and Han for delivering such a great talk. Thanks, bye-bye.